You ever have one of those family members who just can't stand to see you happy? Well, let me tell you what my sister-in-law did. And no, this isn't some dramatic exaggeration. This woman actually had the audacity to demand that I hand over my firstborn child and my house. Yes, you heard that right. Not just babysit or borrow something for a while. She wanted to keep my baby and take over the home me and my husband built from the ground up. It all started when my husband and Emski finally got some good news after a rough couple of years. We were expecting our first child and had just moved into a house we'd been saving up for since we got married. Naturally, we were over the moon. But from the moment my sister-in-law found out, it was like something snapped in her. At first, it was subtle, passive-aggressive comments, weird questions about our finances, and way too many opinions about how I should raise my child. I tried to brush it off as jealousy or insecurity, but then things escalated way past anything I could have imagined. She cornered me at a family gathering and said something so shocking, I thought she was joking. With a dead serious face, she told me I should let her raise the baby because, in her words, I didn't deserve everything falling into my lap. Then she followed up with, "Since you already have the baby and the house, it's only fair to share." I laughed, thinking it was some weird, messed-up attempt at humor, but her face didn't change. That's when I realized she actually meant it. And the worst part, that was only the beginning. Because what she did next nearly tore our family apart. So, a few days after that insane conversation, I tried to let it go. I thought maybe she was just having a moment. Maybe something was going on in her life that made her lash out. I even talked to my husband about it, but he brushed it off and said, "That's just how she is. Don't take her seriously." But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. This wasn't just a snide comment or a petty sibling rivalry. Felt calculated, like she was planning something. To understand how things got this twisted, you have to know a bit about her. My sister-in-law, let's call her Tara, has always been the center of attention in her family. Everything revolved around her. Growing up, she was the golden child, the loudest voice in the room, the one who always had to win. When I married her brother, I could tell right away she didn't like sharing the spotlight. At first, it was small things. She'd show up uninvited, make backhanded compliments about my cooking, or compare our lives like it was some weird competition. Still, I never thought it would go as far as trying to insert herself into our future like this. Around my second trimester, things escalated. Tara started showing up at our house more often, sometimes with no warning, sometimes with baby gifts. That felt a little too personal, like onesies with her last name printed on them. One day, she even left a binder on our kitchen counter labeled Parenting Plan, with her name listed as the primary guardian. I'm not joking. She said she was just getting involved early, but I felt sick reading through it. It was like she had mentally replaced me. I wanted to believe it was just a weird obsession. But then she crossed a line no one expected. A few weeks later, things started getting even stranger. I noticed my in-laws becoming oddly distant. Normally, they'd call every other day to check in, ask about the baby, or drop by with something home-cooked. But now, it was radio silence. When I finally reached out, my mother-in-law gave me this awkward, half-hearted, "Oh, we've just been busy," but I could tell she was holding something back. That's when the sinking feeling hit. Tara had been saying things behind my back, spreading lies or twisting the story to make herself look like the victim. Sure enough, I overheard her one evening while we were all at a family dinner. I had stepped out to grab something from the car, and when I came back toward the door, I caught her mid-sentence telling my in-laws she's overwhelmed. The baby wasn't even planned. I just want to help her before something bad happens. Her voice was full of fake concern, like she was trying to plant seeds of doubt. My heart was pounding. I didn't even go back inside right away. I just stood there, trying to process what I'd heard. Meanwhile, my husband was still completely in the dark. Every time I brought up Tara's behavior, he'd brush it off as jealousy or overthinking. But to me, it felt like something deeper. It wasn't just about jealousy. It was like she genuinely believed she had a right to our baby. Or maybe she was trying to sabotage me so that she could somehow step in and take over. The thought terrified me. I started feeling unsafe in my own home, constantly double-checking the locks and keeping my distance from family events. And just when I thought things couldn't get more twisted, I got an envelope slipped into my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a single typed letter that made my blood run cold. ... The envelope was plain, no handwriting, no stamp. Just slid right into our mailbox like someone had walked up and shoved it in themselves. I stood there holding it, heart racing. Something about it felt wrong. When I opened it, my hands actually started shaking. It was a typed letter, no name, no greeting, just a short message that read, "You need to do what's best for the baby. That means stepping aside. You're not the right one for this role." That was it. No signature. Just a weird, cold threat. I didn't want to believe it, but every part of me knew it had come from Tara. That night, I barely slept. Every creak in the house had me sitting up. I started checking the nursery window twice before bed. And even though my husband still thought I was overreacting, he finally agreed to install security cameras. Something about the letter finally shook him a bit too. But by then, it felt like it was already too late. Within days, Tara's behavior became more erratic. She started showing up at my doctor's appointments. No joke, she actually called the clinic, pretended to be helping me, and tried to reschedule one of my visits. Luckily, the receptionist thought it was strange and called to confirm with me. When I asked Tara about it, she didn't even deny it. She just said, "I figured you'd be too tired to manage everything. I'm just trying to make your life easier." Her tone was fake sweet, but her eyes were cold. That's when I realized she wasn't just jealous, she was obsessed. Like she had convinced herself this was her child, her family, her house. Then came the biggest shock. One night, I came home from the grocery store and noticed something odd. The front door was unlocked, lights on, and music playing inside. I hadn't left it that way. My heart dropped. I called out for my husband, thinking maybe he came home early, but there was no answer, just silence. Then I stepped into the nursery, and what I saw made me freeze in my tracks. There, in the middle of the nursery, was Tara rocking in the glider chair, holding one of the stuffed animals I had carefully picked out, just staring at the empty crib like she was already a mother. She didn't even flinch when I stepped in. She looked up at me, calm as ever, and said, "You're finally home." I was just getting everything ready. My chest tightened. I didn't know whether to scream or run. I asked her what she was doing, how she got in, and why she thought this was okay. She just smiled and said, "You left the door open." I figured it was a sign, but I knew I had locked the door. Every single lock. I had even double-checked them. She got in somehow, and that's when it hit me. The spare key. Months ago, when we were moving in, she'd offered to hold on to one in case of emergencies. We never asked for it back, and honestly, we forgot. But clearly, she hadn't. That key had just turned into a weapon. I told her to leave, calm but firm. She refused. Instead, she stood up, walked toward the crib, and placed the stuffed animal inside like she was tucking in a real baby. Then she said something that chilled me to the bone. "The baby's going to be mine, one way or another. Everyone already sees me as the better choice." My mind was spinning. I didn't even know how to respond. It wasn't just obsession now. Tara had convinced herself she deserved my child, that she could take over my life. Before I could react, my husband walked in behind me. He froze, staring at her, then at me. But before he could say anything, Tara turned to him with tears in her eyes and said, "I'm sorry you had to find out like this, but she's been unstable. You know that? I've been trying to protect the baby." That's when everything completely unraveled. For a second, it was dead silent. My husband stood frozen in the doorway, trying to process what Tara had just said. I could see the confusion on his face, that flicker of doubt she was hoping to plant. But then he looked at Marily. Looked tanned, something shifted. "Tara, you need to leave now," he said, his voice low and firm. She didn't move. Instead, she took a step closer to the crib and whispered, "I'm doing this for you. Both of you. She's not well." That was it. I'd had enough. Pulled out my phone and hit record. Calmly, I asked her to repeat what she just said. And like she had nothing to lose, she did, going off about how I wasn't fit to be a mother. How the baby would have a better life with her, how she was just stepping in before something terrible happened. The whole thing. She even admitted to using the spare key. When she noticed I was recording, her face finally cracked. That fake sweet smile vanished, replaced with something almost panicked. She lunged for the phone, but my husband stepped between. "It's over," he said. "You're not helping anyone. We called the police." They didn't arrest her. She hadn't technically harmed anyone, but the report was enough to get a restraining order filed. And the footage. It became our lifeline, proving everything I'd been saying for months. My in-laws were shaken, completely blindsided. Turns out, Tara had also been lying to them, telling them I was overwhelmed, depressed, even suggesting I wanted to give up the baby after that night. We changed all the locks, updated the security system, and made sure Tara had no access to us. It felt like we could finally breathe again. But just when we thought it was over, a letter showed up in the mail a week later, this time postmarked from another state. Inside was a baby blanket I'd never seen before, and a note that simply said, "See you soon." That note shook us. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was enough to keep us on edge. For weeks, every doorbell ring made my heart race. My husband filed a follow-up report, and we gave the letter and blanket to the authorities. They traced the postmark to a town a few hours away, where, apparently, Tara had checked herself into a wellness retreat. According to her family, it was voluntary, and she was getting the help she needed. Part of me felt relief, but another part couldn't forget the look in her eyes that day in the nursery. Still, life slowly began to feel normal again. The nursery became a space of joy instead of fear. We kept the cameras, updated every lock, and surrounded ourselves with people we trusted. When our baby finally arrived, safe and healthy, it was the most emotional moment of our lives. Everything we had gone through, the lies, the manipulation, the threats, it all led to that one perfect moment. Holding my child reminded me of what we fought to protect. As for Tara, we haven't seen her since. Her side of the family keeps their distance now, and honestly, I think they're still processing how deep her obsession went. I don't hold hate in my heart, I never did, but I've learned to trust my instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Protecting your peace and your family sometimes means having hard boundaries, even with those who share your last name. If there's one thing I took away from this, it's that jealousy doesn't always look like rage, can look like a smile, a gift, a helping hand. But the moment someone starts thinking they deserve your life, that's when you fight back, and you never let anyone rewrite your story.